We are live, and I am welcoming everybody who is entering the webinar live with Dr. Mcdougal. Today, Dr. Mcdougal will talk about obesity and how to treat it with a low-fat, plant-based diet. I'm Gustavo Tolosa, and the webinar coordinator, and I'm here with Dr. Mcdougal. Thank you, Dr. Mcdougal, for being here with us today, and I'll pass it on to you.
Oh, thank you. This is good. This is good for all of us to be able to get together on the internet. And I'm sure the folks out there notice all the improvements that you and I have been making in the background and the sound and everything else, so we can get it right. And soon we'll get it exactly right. Let's see. Since I was with you last time, I guess last time we were in just got back from Kauai, which was our adventure trip preparation for the adventure that's going to take place January 30th, which hopefully some people can go on. And I told you my exciting talk at, I didn't tell you that. I told you about my exciting talk at Triple Army Medical Center. And we talked about that. I thought I got a really good response from the doctors and dietitians. I have to tell you, in general, what happens when I speak at a medical conference is the audience just remains quiet. They don't ask questions. Maybe some of the lay people, a few non-threatened people will ask questions, but most of them, they don't want to embarrass themselves by asking questions, because doctors and dietitians should know good questions to ask, and they don't know the subject at all. So they just avoid embarrassing themselves by not saying anything. Well, at this conference at Tripler that we had last Wednesday, I got a couple of good questions, and one on obesity. And I really didn't know what the response was. And then I got a great email. Following that, and it turned out that the doctors and dietitians really liked what I had to say. In fact, they started bringing in meals based on the plan, on the McDougall philosophy. So they took turns bringing in their own meals. They also, the pharmacist who invited me there, she also went out and bought books for a whole bunch of them, Starch Solution books. You know, I think the world is changing. I think they're getting it. And long ago, I thought it would have to get to be this bad in terms of confusion, where we have, we have the different sides really on fire about this thing and getting lots of attention, because all that's happened to me in, say, the last 40 years is the subject of a low-fat, high-carbohydrate, starch-based diet has just been ignored. It's been ignored, and you hear in the background other types of diets like paleo diet, and the starvation diets like Jenny Craig and Weight Watchers, and then of course the low carb, high protein Atkins type diet has really been a big rumble, with the knockoffs of that diet being Wheat Belly and Grain Brain. They're just knockoffs of the Atkins diet. They're ketose producing diets, and of course they've gotten a lot of attention. And now that industry's figured out that they can lie and get the newspapers to buy their lies, and the journals too, the medical journals will now allow doctors and scientists who lie about the subject to get published in their journals. Now that it's gotten to that point, and the people who know the truth, like myself and other scientists and doctors, see the lying going on in the media. And I say the professional media too, like the British Medical Journal. The stuff they publish there, as far as I'm concerned, these people should be put in prison for what they're doing. And the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times and so on, they're getting in the mainstream. So they are really bringing up the subject so that people like myself and other people can't ignore it anymore, and they're fighting back. And I think we're at a turning point, because of all this knowledge about, let me put it this way, evil, the low-carb diets, all this knowledge of evil, and seeing this evil take over, killing animals to live and destroying planet Earth so you can get your meat. And everybody knowing now that these diseases that we're suffering from, type 2 diabetes, obesity, heart disease, and so on, are due to the type of diet we eat, primarily the animal food-based diet. So I think we've got a real battle going on, and I think we have a turning point. I'm very optimistic. The subject of today for me was why I recommend a low-fat diet, and the answer is that's because that's what nature designed. It wasn't my design. I didn't do it. It was done, somewhere since 400 million years ago. It was done in the sense that nature built her plants on sugar. The reason the plants were built on sugar is because you can make sugar from basic elements, from water from the ground and carbon dioxide from the air, and you just add a little sunshine, but you got sugar. You know, it's a very simple thing to do. And so plants make sugar, which of course is not fat. And then they store the sugars in their plant parts. When they store them in large amounts in plant parts, like they do in their roots and bulbs and corms, tubers, you know, like things like potatoes and sweet potatoes, those are underground storage organs of carbohydrate, very, very little fat. And they store their plant parts for energy above ground in seeds. And those would be things like grains like rice and corn, wheat, and also in legumes. Those would be your beans, peas, and lentils. So the plants make the sugar, they store it in their plant parts. So they don't store fat. Plants don't store fat except for a few plants. Those would be nuts and seeds and coconuts and avocados, and some oily seeds too. But most plants store their energy as carbohydrate. And as a result, they naturally build these plant parts that are turned into human food as being about maybe 5, 6, 7% fat, maybe 6, 7, 8, 10, 16% protein, maybe 75, 85, 90% sugar, starch, or simple sugar like you'll find in fruits. It's just that's the way nature designed her food. And human beings are starch eaters. We are, by every way you look at it, anatomically, our teeth, our hands, our digestive enzymes. The enzyme amylase clearly says we are a starch eater. Amylase, which is produced in the gut and in the mouth, amylase digests amylose and amylopectin. These are starch chains, molecules. And we have a particularly high amount of amylase production. In the order of primates, there are genes that produce amylase. And non-starch eating primates like gorillas and chimpanzees, they only have 2 copies of the amylase producing gene. So they can't make much amylase, so they can't digest much starch. So their diet is perishable vegetables, non-starchy vegetables, and fruits. The human primate has about 6 of these amylase producing genes, and as many as 16. So we're real good at digesting starch, which allowed us to leave the equator and travel throughout the world. If we could not digest starch, then we'd be stuck at the equator eating fruits, and fruits are there all year long. But because we can digest these plant parts known as starch, we can leave the equator. Fall and winter come, we just dig under the ground and we pull up roots and bulbs and corms and tubers and all kinds of things we pull up from under the ground, and we kind of feed our families in the winter and the spring until the new food comes back. So as a result, we've been able to conquer planet Earth because we're unique as starch eaters. We can also get our starch from the seeds, the grains, like corn and rice, and the legumes, beans, peas, and lentils, and we just store them dry and they'll last 10 years. And so we got food for ourselves, our families, all over the planet Earth. And that's because we are a unique kind of being who digests starch. And that's why we're on a low-fat diet, because the dominant part of the food is starch, which is sugar. There's no room for fat. And we get just enough protein in that protein that's provided by the starch. As a matter of fact, you cannot design a protein deficient diet. There's loads of protein in starch. And I want to end by saying one other thing is, your food's starch. Your food is corn and potatoes and sweet potatoes and beans and rice. It's your food because you like it. Pasta, bread. You love bread. And you're designed from the tip of your tongue to taste and enjoy these starches. You innately don't like meat. You have to cook it and cover it up with sugar, salt, and spice to even get it down. My cat uniquely likes meat, raw. It's the way we're designed. We're designed as starch eaters. And when you eat the right kind of diet, it matches the hunger drive. It matches the size of the stomach. It matches your energy needs. And you stay trim. It's just natural. It's the way it's supposed to be. If you deviate from your natural starch-based diet, then you can get too fat, as people often do. You don't get the satisfaction from the starch for your hunger drive that you're supposed to get. The food is too dense, so you put more than should be in your stomach. It's full of fat, which is easy to wear. So you should get comfortable with the fact that you like pasta and you like bread and you like potatoes. There's a reason for it. Those are your foods, and you'll stay trim and healthy when you get that. Do you think I covered that low-fat diet thing enough?
Yes, yes, you cover the basics, and I want everybody to know that they can see so much more on your website, Dr. Mcdougal. Can you tell them about the discussion board a little bit?
Yeah, we have a search engine. First of all, you've got to learn to use the search engine, because you just put a word. I spent how many years have I spent? 12 years. 13 years. I've spent 13 years working daily to build that website, along with a bunch of other very talented people. The search engine is phenomenal. You enter diabetes or rheumatoid arthritis or whatever you want, protein, it'll give you a bunch of articles. And you can also go to my hot topics, which categorizes topics and things like multiple sclerosis. You'll find the articles I've written on multiple sclerosis. Or protein. You'll find the articles I've written on protein and meat. They're all in a category if you look under hot topics. So yeah, there's a lot there. I don't know whether I should go into this or not, but I think I would like to. Gustavo and everybody else listening, you know, it's officially announced. Harper One signed a contract with me to write another book about 2 weeks ago. It was a year-long discussion on to whether or not I was going to write another book. I refused to write another book because I've written enough books, and I wanted to write my color picture book, which is on my website. It's the thing that I'm most proud of. It's in 22 languages. The color picture book explains exactly what to do to follow the diet. Well, HarperCollins, Harper One, the division, has been pursuing Mary and I since January of last year to write another book. And I said, I won't do it. I want to publish my color picture book. That's what's dear to my heart. Well, this very brilliant editor came back and said, well, you can publish your color picture book as a middle standalone section, just the way you want it. So I said, good. That's what I want to do. I want to cover, but she says, you got to give me some words too. I said, I don't want to give you any words, but I got to give you words. Well, I put the words down. I finished the book, actually. And those of you who are followers of the program will kind of understand. I hope I don't confuse you, but this is how the book is going to go. It's going to start out with a little short piece I did called There Are Lies and Damn Lies, which the damn lies are the ones that destroy the planet and people. Then I'm going to do an introduction, a little story about my development in medicine and nutrition, and how I learned about this, and also about my poor health as a young man. Then the third chapter, which will be really the second chapter, is going to be about my mentors, about all the people who taught me this stuff. Walter Kempner, Nathan Pritikin, Dennis Burkett. There are a few other folks in there. So I'm going to talk about my mentors because everybody needs to know I did not invent this. This was this was invented thousands of years ago, and some modern people really helped me along. Walter Kempner, amazing. And then I'm going to go into a chapter called Broccoli and Kale Taste Bitter. I mean, you can recognize these from newsletters, and we'll talk about why you don't eat a non-starch-based diet. We'll talk about how starches are important. Then I'm going to talk about nuts come in hard shells for a reason. These are all chapters. I think the book, you're hearing this before the book company even hears it. I hope the book company is not listening. They may get mad. And then there will be a chapter on the newest food cure, coconut. The next chapter is to juice or not to juice. There'll be a chapter on arsenic and rice. And then a chapter on epigenetics. The next chapter will be anti-aging article. There'll be a chapter, some of you have seen these, on athletes and how athletes perform. This next newsletter that'll be out in about 7 days is about beauty, how you get your attractiveness on a starch-based diet. And then the last chapter in this section will be lessons from the past, directions for the future. It'll be how 3 million Danes became vegan and saved themselves during World War I. Then I'm going to put the color picture book to kind of be a breaker. And next is going to come the extreme diets. And it'll start with the extreme diets, Eskimos. Then it'll go on to Ron Krauss, that's Dr. Lard, who is the guy who rigged the scientific literature. Dr. Krause, he's head of atherosclerosis in Oakland Children's Hospital. Big shot, but he's paid for by the dairy industry. And then there'll be a chapter on smoke and mirrors, which is about grain, brain, and wheat belly. And then the next chapter is on paleo diets. Next one is how gluten-free diets add a distraction that's destroying the earth, and how GMO diets are adding a distraction to destroy the earth. And then I'm going to throw the chapter in on vitamin D that you all read recently. And then Mary's recipes. Mary gets 24 color recipes in this book, plus another 24 written recipes she gets. And then following that, there are going to be some subsections that will be of interest. There'll be a chapter on pregnancy, one on food and child abuse, and a chapter on how to raise children. And that's the book. And all the chapters are written. But anyway, I finished it yesterday. I just wanted to share it with everybody. Unfortunately, the book will not be out for, well, I don't know, at least 8 months, but it could be longer. But I'm really proud of this. I said to myself, I'll never write another book again. And it wasn't for the money, even though the money was substantial. It was the fact that they let me put my color picture book in.
Right. This is very exciting, Dr.
Mann.
And that book is available actually on your website, right?
And so are all the chapters I just read to you.
Right.
All those chapters are newsletter articles that I've written in the past, except for one I have to write this week. And so all the information is available. And I told the company, I said, all this stuff is on my website. I'm not going to write new stuff. And it's going to come from the website. I'll rewrite it to make it sound fit for a book. So you must understand that's where it's coming from. They said yes. And I said, I will not take the material off my website either. It's going to always be available free for anybody that wants to have it. And so all those chapters, all the color picture book will always be available free. But a lot of people would like to have it in a nice book form. And so I think it's going to be a big hit.
Right, to compile, yes. And I know that everybody appreciates that you're so generous in having all this information there for free. And I hope that they take advantage of it.
And it's working too, Gustavo. That's the exciting thing, is I really see it's working. I really see the lights going on, people opening their eyes. And, you know, just like I have to compare it with global warming. You know, there were so many global warming deniers out there, which, by the way, there was one in my tripler talk. He got mad at me because I said the global warming's been caused by the food, and he thought it was a political statement, which it turns out to be. Right. Sad to say, but hey, folks, wake up, and you got to wake up to the food. And I see people waking up. Yes, I think you are right. It is happening. I see some questions here that people are asking, but they're related to the actual webinar, like printing the chat and things like that. If you all have any questions about the webinar, please email them to me at webinar@drmcdougal.com, and I can quickly let you know of some of these technical issues. It's webinar@drmcdougal.com. Dr. McDougall, can I ask you a question that someone has? Yeah, let's do that. Make sure they notice our backgrounds now. I know, everybody. Yeah. To see the improvement we're making, we're getting to be real professionals here, and because we're taking this serious. Gustavo and I are going to change the world with this webinar. We're here to stay, and I hope that everybody here feels that you're really on a mission with us, and that you will share the links that you get every week with everybody in your media. In your all free. There are no gimmicks, folks. You could come to Kauai with us, though. And we do have another 10-day program that still has places in it. Not many. It's getting pretty full. So there's time for us to spend together too. Very good. Very good. Okay, so we have a question. What about what is presented as true to be a fact, that the brain is composed of about 50% fat? I think it's higher than that. I think it's higher than 50% fat. Yeah, it is. But those fats are made from the fats in plants, and the development of the brain occurred under an environment of carbohydrate. There is this absolutely phenomenal article, and I wonder if I can go get it, if I can get away with this, Gustavo, so I can give it to people. Right. Well, are you not seeing my screen now? No. You're okay. I say this is worth my search to get this article, because you all should read it.
If you send it to me, I can put it here on the
You can
chat,
do that. You can do that.
or you can, whatever you want. By the way, while Dr. McDougall is looking here, I just want to let everybody know that the questions that he answers, he refuses to have them sent to him beforehand. So this is real life. He doesn't know what questions he's going to get.
All right.
So that you know.
Gustavo, I'm going
Yeah.
to go. The easiest way I can do this, people get their pencils down. I'm going to share this with you.
All right.
And let's see if just as part of our thingy, we can do this. We can share this. Here it is. Are you ready? This article is free to get. It's free. Okay.
There you go. Okay.
Okay. Write this down or do a screen click. You can always do a screen click and save it. And you can go to the internet and look up this article by Karen Hardy. It's the importance of dietary carbohydrate in human evolution, and it's free. And it's a little bit technical, but I don't think beyond the reading skills and comprehension of anybody who has a moderate education. And it is so clear. It hit world headlines when it came out. It was such a wonderful piece of research. And I think you should get it. I think anybody who is questioning the importance of carbohydrate, or anybody who's on the low carb bandwagon, you should print out a copy of this form or send it on an email and say, read this. This is absolutely crystal clear. Read this. So anyway, now.
Very good. Thank you for sharing that.
Now I'm back with you. I'm back. No, I'm not back with you. I got to.
Not yet, but you will. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay, now we see you. And
all right, good.
So this is a kind of a general question, Dr. McDougall, but if you could answer it in a few words, what is the best, and best is being capitalized, what is the best way to get started on a diet change?
Well, it comes from different ways for different people. I think what you ought to do is kind of seriously assess where you're heading in terms of health. Say to yourself, I'm tired of being overweight. I read all these things about breast cancer and mastectomies, which are being overdone. Finally, the press, we ought to do a whole thing on mastectomies. I've written books. I actually was involved in a law back in 1984. I did the first research on the treatment of breast cancer with diet. We should do one on mammography. Those are headline terms now. So, women are worried about losing their breasts and being disfigured the rest of their life. This is a dietary disease. Men are worried about having a heart attack. Kind of assess how important it is for you to stay alive and in good shape. And then what I would do is I would think about the things that you already love. If you don't like quinoa, don't pick quinoa. If you like potatoes and you like bread, an oil-free bread, pick the things you already like and eat those as much as you can. Maybe you're going to decide you can't go 100%. Well, fine, triple or quadruple your starch intake. I think it does work better going 100% though. It's like cigarette smoking and alcohol drinking. It's hard to do a little bit. It's just so tempting to have that little piece of pork chop or pepperoni pizza in the refrigerator. So I think at some time when you decide that this is it, I'm going to make those change for myself and my family, just say no. Get that stuff out of your house. Use your favorite spices. If you don't like oregano, don't use oregano. Use salt. Salt is key in getting people to like this food. We have salt taste buds on the tip of our tongue. So, put the salt shaker out. Put salt on this food. Put your favorite spice on the food. And maybe make just a soup. Soups are really familiar, like a pea soup, a minestrone soup. Make a big, big batch of it. And so you'll have it ready when you come home from work or have it ready for the kids when they come home from school. And don't make a lot of different dishes. Just find a couple of things you like and eat them over and over again. I know Mary and I have bean and rice and bread dishes almost every night. She makes a soup with various kinds of beans and vegetables. Our diet, and we have oatmeal every morning for breakfast, every morning. So I make it simple. Pick things you already like. Eat a lot of food. You have to eat a lot of food. If you're on a diet, you're going to fail because you'll be hungry. You must eat a lot of food, and you can eat 10, 15 times a day. And then it just happens. Your blood pressure goes down, the balls start working, and so on.
Right, right. And you know what I have learned just with these few years is that to always have food available. Wouldn't you say
Yeah,
that
that's good, and that's why making it on Sunday helps. I'll also put a plug in for a product from a company that I used to own, but I don't own anymore. It's Dr. Mcdougal's Right Foods, and I make no profit off of you buying those foods, but they're in 6,000 stores across the country. And you can go into Safeway or Times or Publix, or they're even in, they even, I don't know where they sell them in other countries. They may,
they
but
do sell it online, like
you can order them through Amazon, and you can eat these soup. They're all low fat. They're not Dr. Mcdougal's perfect foods. They're low fat. They're relatively low in sodium. They're made of healthy ingredients for the most part. They're really, really good ingredients. And you can eat them like alone, like the pea soup. We're going to take the pea soup and throw it over a baked potato, or a couple of baked potatoes, or the tortilla soup is one of my favorite. Oh, it's a knockout soup.
oh yeah.
And you can change the spicing because the spicing comes in a side pack, but you'll find them in almost every store in the
Right,
US for sure.
right. Okay, very good.
Sauces, there are all kinds of suggestions in Mary's books and on the website. Oh, in fact, we have a whole canned product list on the website that you can find, and it lists. It's a little bit dated, but it's current enough for you to go and find tomato sauces and all kinds of things. We also buy tamales in the store, frozen, vegetarian. Oh no, Mary said they had some more in them, so don't have to head back.
Okay, very good. Let me ask you a question about having dry mouth. If we assume that a medication such as HG medication is the cause, but it has been determined that Sjogren's is not indicated, what do you recommend to help dry mouth? Well, we might have lost Dr. McDougall here because I think that, I don't know if everybody here, but his image is frozen now. He might be able to log out and then back in, but the internet connection doesn't look good. I hope you're still seeing me. I don't know. Can you maybe type on the live chat and see if you can still see me at least? I cannot answer all your questions, and I can show you that I always have next to me the book, The Starch Solution, which really I think it has all the questions that you guys are asking. About 95% of them are answered here. So I would just recommend that you get that book. And if we lost Dr. McDougall, then this will be the end of the webinar. And I'm sorry, you know how it is sometimes with technology. I'm just going to stay a little longer because I see that he has logged out. So he will probably log back in, and it will be the connection will be better, but we'll just have to wait a little bit. While we wait, I just want to reiterate that you can send questions ahead of time. I think that helps. At least it helps me to kind of organize them, and you can always send questions ahead of time at webinar@drmcdougal.com, and I will do my best to include them. We get hundreds and hundreds of questions, so it's impossible to put them all on this website, on this webinar. But since Dr. McDougall said himself, we're here to stay and do these webinars weekly on a weekly basis. So sooner or later, we will get, Dr. McDougall will get to your question. I don't think that we are having him back. What I'm going to do is, let's see here, is pause for a minute here. I'll just give you 2-3 minutes. I'm going to turn off my camera, but I am not logging off. So I'm still here. We can keep chatting. You can use the chat. And we will stay in this room, even though you can't see me now, but you can still hear me. And we'll wait for a couple of minutes to see if Dr. McDougall can log back in. Okay, just give me a minute because he is. Okay, so I'm back here, and Dr. Mcdougal's internet went down, so he is going to log back in just a few minutes, and hopefully it will work. I see a question here. Where are you, Gustavo? Well, it's a secret. No, I live in Dallas, Texas. So if there's anybody in the area, uh, I welcome you. And Dr. McDougall, of course, is in Santa Rosa, California. And hold on just a minute. Let's see. It seems that we are going to be able to get Dr. McDougall back online here. He's logging in right now. If you have the time, please stay online. This webinar is recorded, and it will probably be trimmed because all this 5 minutes or so that we've been waiting, that'll probably be cut off. But all these webinars are recorded, and then they are available on Dr. McDougall's website. If you go under the education tab and you go to the free webinars, then you will be able to watch them all um, every time. Now, next week, Dr. McDougall is doing an exciting webinar. He's going to be discussing the latest article that came out in the latest Time magazine about breast cancer and about what he has been talking about for about 40 years of what if you do nothing? Is that better than going through all the industry of, that has been built around cancer treatment? And when you might choose to do that and when you might not want to do that. So I think next Thursday is going to be a really exciting.
Okay.
And I
So I
think
should
we
be back.
here. Can you hear me, Dr. McDougall?
I'm back. You know,
Okay, here he is.
yeah. So it usually goes off for about 5 minutes at a time. Can you believe this? And
It just had to happen at this time.
it just happened. Let me make sure we're good. I hear a little feedback from you, but
Okay. Well, several people have stayed, so we still have a lot of people in the room.
well, that's all right.
Would you like to take another question?
Yeah. We were also going to try something special too.
We were going to try something, and that's why we're going to leave it at the end in case we mess up everything.
Yeah, and we should also warn people about these kind of problems that do come up.
It's technology, and it's just not perfect, and it's getting better every week. But these things happen. So.
Well, anyway, yeah, let's answer a few more questions, and then we want to try a few little, try something special.
So what we were going to try is there is a way for you guys that are here listening to request to speak in the room on your chat to your right. And if you request, and if you have a Gmail account, then you can actually log in and be part of the webinar. So, but you need to understand that you agree to be broadcast live and then recorded all over the world. So if anybody wants to be part, please let me know, and I will send you a link so that you can log in. Okay. In the meantime, Dr. McDougall, could you explain why exactly oils are toxic? That's one of the questions that someone asked.
Okay. Well, the oil is not food. The first thing you have to realize, it'd be like taking a cyanide out of an apricot kernel. I mean, there's high doses of cyanide in apricots, and also their kernels. But when the cyanide is in the plant, it's mixed up with other phytochemicals, fats, proteins, etc., so that it does not have a poisonous effect. It actually has a healthful effect. When you take the cyanide out and you give it to somebody, I mean, it's instant death. It's the same thing with oil. Oil is, when it's in the food, it's mixed up with the phytochemicals and the proteins and the vitamins and so on. It provides an important function. You need some of these oils. They're called essential oils. But if you strip the oil out of the food, you leave everything else behind. It's just oil. It's not food. It's easily gets into the body in concentrated forms because it's oil. You know, it just, you suck it on in and then you suck it into your body fat. The oil also has been shown since the 1920s to have adverse effects on cancer growth. It accelerates greatly cancer growth. The oil gets on your skin, causes you oily skin. Many kinds of oils have been shown recently, including omega-6 oils, which are supposed to be essential. Many kinds of oils have been shown to be heart toxic. They did experiments in the 1970s where they fed people in institutions, actually, where they had them controlled. And various experiments where they replaced animal fat with a vegetable fat oil, you know, and they had higher rates of heart disease. These oils are very toxic. I saw a note up there also, somebody asked why weight loss is slow. Well, you know, a pound of fat is 3,500 calories. That'll keep you going for a day or two. So it takes a while for you to lose the weight. Our average weight loss in 7 days is 3 pounds. That's in people we have under our full control and who get to eat as much as they want of really delicious foods because we make it. We know it's delicious. So it just takes time. You can accelerate weight loss with some exercise. You can accelerate weight loss by, you know, you have to avoid the nuts, seeds, and avocados. Those are fattening. And also the refined food is going to be less weight losing for you if you eat like breads and bagels and things like that.
Right. When you got cut off earlier, you were talking about how to perhaps treat or help with the dry mouth syndrome.
Oh yeah, the Sojourns. If you have Sojourn syndrome, the salivary glands and the lacrimal glands are destroyed, partially or totally, and you just can't make that saliva come back. So there are certain types of mouth preparations to help people with the feelings, but it just won't come back. So I don't, you know, and if you have dry mouth from medication, you get off the medication if possible.
Right, right. Okay. Someone asks about if you have a daily exercise routine, and if so, if you could describe it. This is a 77-year-old person.
You know, I don't. I'm not an exercise advocate or a participator. I do windsurf, and I got to get back and do some more of it. Yesterday, I painted part of the house. That's kind of what my exercise is. It's, but I would not attribute to any of my personal appearance to exercise because I do so little of it. The way I look thin is because of the food I eat, which is simple. And I feel good, and I feel strong. And I also warn people a lot, and I want to warn you that exercise can be dangerous. I just got finished after I went to Kauai last week, this past weekend, a couple of days ago. I was in Los Angeles at a conference. And part of the reason I went down there was to see one of my good friends who got ran over by a car with a bicycle. She was on a bicycle. A car ran over and just did terrible, terrible damage to her. And I saw Caldwell Esselstyn down there too, and my buddy S, and he's been run over by 2 cars.
Oh my!
Really, really bad. That's public knowledge, so that's why I tell you. And it's dangerous to be out there on bikes and running down the street, and so be careful. Be careful.
All right. Okay, very good. I don't, Dr. McDougall, we will have to leave the inviting a guest
Yeah.
online for next week because it's even though I have allowed these people to come in, I don't know why I don't get
All
them.
right. Well, we'll practice, and
Um,
maybe I bet there's some webinar users out there,
yes,
and maybe they can. What was that? What was that webinar address you have?
it's a webinar at drmcdougal.com.
There you go.
Yes. So any knowledge that you have, but I do have it. We never done it, so I've got to look for it. Can we do one more question
No,
for
let's
you?
just. I actually see some questions up here. I can.
Okay.
What's my favorite meal? I'd say I have a couple: mashed potatoes and gravy, and I like bean burritos, and those are simple things. And the dishes Mary makes at night, the soups and the stews, in the slow cooker. Those are my favorite meals, and they're simple things. And I use a tiny bit of salt, probably less salt than most of you could tolerate because I'm used to it.
Right, right. You're used to it.
Yeah.
What about people there's a person that says that they enjoy a lentil soup that calls for 2 cups of coconut milk and that contains 8% of fat and 20% of this is saturated or trans.
Yeah. Well, this is fattening. The nuts are fattening. Just like if you took cashews and ground them up and put them in there. If you took cashew oil, that'd be very toxic. Cashews and coconuts and things like that. Nature is designed to be healthy, but to be rich, you are going to wear that fat. So I would, if your goal is to be trim, maybe you want to gain weight. It's people who have to gain weight, they have to eat some nuts and seeds and dried fruits and things like that. I noticed one caller up there said something about starch solution certification. We should tell people that we have a starch solution certification course that people can take from the website. It costs, it's not free. And Gustavo and I, we do special webinars with the people who belong to this course. So it gives us a chance to help them with their business aspects and answer special questions about the clients that they're seeing. It's a very small, not very small, but it's a much more manageable. We're not dealing with thousands of people like we are now.
Right.
We're dealing with just a handful of people who belong to the Starch certification course. So if you're interested in that, I also should mention that there's a CME course for doctors, which is CME approved. I forget how many hours we have, but there are quite a few CME hours that you can take online course, as well as the Starch certification course offers CEU credits. So you can get credits for nursing and physicians and pharmacists. We have credits for lots of people, but check with your certifying board to make sure that our particular the particular type, there's nothing wrong with our kind. Ours are fully, properly, honestly certified. It would be good any place that accepts those kind of credits. You just got to make sure those kind of credits.
Right, right. Okay, okay. There is a question from someone that may be a doctor, I'm not sure, but she says, or he says, white rice has been demonized and demonized because of being a processed starch, but rural Chinese thrived on it. And then it says, so what are your thoughts about it? If my
I feel the same way. It's been demonized.
Right.
You can certainly make many reasons brown rice is better. You have the shell, the fiber. Right. You have the vitamins. When you take off the shell, you lose the vitamins. People berry. When they started refining the rice, they used to get berry, which was very serious. And since then, they put vitamins back on. That's what the rice manufacturer does. 2 billion people right now live on rice, at least 2 billion. And they're thin, and they have, back at least as of the time of the 50s, they had no breast cancer, colon cancer, prostate cancer, no rheumatoid arthritis, no multiple sclerosis. Up until 1985, 90% of the diet of the Chinese, Vietnamese, et cetera, people in that part of the world, 90% of the diet came from white rice. So, we serve brown rice at our clinic. If you go to one of our vacations, like the Kauai vacation we have coming up, there'll be dishes with white rice and dishes with brown rice. It's not a deal breaker.
Right.
It's the pork chop that's sitting right next to the rice that's going to kill you.
Right.
It's that 3 tablespoons of olive oil they put on that salad that you're about to eat is going to make you fat. So white rice is not so.
Dr. McDougall, we have someone that has been able to join us, and her name is Deb. Deb,
Hey, I can see you there, Deb.
yeah, can you see us?
Yeah, nice wave.
Let's see. I don't know if we can hear her. Can you say?
I haven't said anything yet.
Oh, okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. I'm going to put you now on the screen. Is that okay, or do you want just to be heard?
No, that's okay.
Okay, so this is Deb here.
Hey, Deb. Deb, are you lying down?
Yes, I am currently in rehab. I just had the first of 2 hips replaced.
Oh boy, good.
And I just wanted to know if that is entering into the the whole rigmarole of what you were talking about, medicine, about it being a business. I mean, for me, I feel like it was the only solution.
Oh, of course.
I didn't know if there was anything else.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's some phenomenal things out there in medicine, Deb, and I certainly, myself and my family have advantage of it. Our families actually had 2 surgeries in the last 2 months, which were very necessary. A hip replacement is a phenomenal operation. So when I talk about the flaws in medicine, there are things like treating type 2 diabetes with drugs when this is a 100% curable disease by changing food, or rheumatoid arthritis with drugs that cost $35,000 just for the medication, or multiple sclerosis, or the drugs are $75,000 for the medication. The medications don't work, and you can cure the problems with food. So certainly, when I condemn in mass medicine, which I try to qualify that it's not everything that's a problem. Certainly, there are some modern medical miracles. They're usually for acute problems. Yours was for a chronic problem, and we don't want to throw the baby out with the wash water. You should be very pleased with your new hips. You got it both done at once.
Well, no, I only had 1 done.
Oh, okay.
I'm having the next one done as soon as I can get it done. But I've been eating your plan for let's see, about 3 months.
How have you done?
I've lost 20 pounds.
Good.
And then of course, you put water weight on from the surgery. Then I lost 2 pounds of that. And I don't think I would have fared as well if I had not been eating this way.
I would agree.
It is amazing. The first day it was too late for me to walk, but the second day I got up and walked. I did take narcotics, but they didn't agree with me. I've been taking nothing but Tylenol, aspirin.
Well,
and it's been 10 days, and I'm allowed to walk outside by myself.
Isn't that amazing? It's an amazing
I
operation.
can almost walk with a cane alone. I mean, I'm astounded, and I think it has a lot to do with the way
there are certain people do well with this operation, whether they eat well or not. Having that less 10 pounds is going to make your 20 pounds going to make your hip happier. The first order, it used to be, and it probably still is, when I was working in a hospital. The first order was for a laxative, and the second order was for a stool softener. And
stool softener, yes.
Yeah, that's because of the food that they feed you in the hospital. So you have another advantage there of having more easy bowel movements. And as time goes on, you're going to want to keep that hip that you have.
Oh, definitely.
And you don't want to put extra wear and tear on the new one.
No.
When you're getting down to the size that I would recommend, how tall are you?
About 5'3½".
Okay, your trim weight when you bottom out at eating at say 5'3", your trim weight will be fewer than 110 pounds.
That little, because I'm on a different program, which I will not name it, very close to yours, less carbohydrates.
Well, maybe 119.
Size 2, I got down to 119.
Well, maybe 119.
Size 2.
Mine that doesn't have as much starch as you're starving to death all the time.
Yeah, the starch helped tremendously, and I really don't know the big difference in the weight loss. Yeah. I'm losing just as much weight as I did before. Absolutely. And I have the whole dietary place here. They are waiting on me hand and foot. Whatever I want to eat, I'm getting it. So it's
You'll,
quite
you'll,
good.
you'll be 110 pounds. You just go back and
Oh yeah. Oh,
take some
definitely.
pictures with him now.
Okay.
Before you leave the rehab center, take some pictures with him and tell him. And the weight loss goes at about 8 to 12 pounds a month without
Yep,
exercise.
that's what I'm figuring.
All right. You let us know how you're doing, Deb.
Oh,
Thank you,
absolutely.
Deb. Thank
Thanks
you.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Well, Dr. McDougall, I think we're ready to quit as well.
Good. Well, it was good. We had a good session, except for the internet service going down.
Yes. Well, those things happen, but we were able to stick there, and people stayed, and we still have a large audience here, so we're very thankful for that.
And we'll get a chance to do one every Thursday.
Yes.
We're going to do some special ones for special groups. And we're going to do one for the Starch certified people sometime in the near future. They're going to be notified. So
Exactly. All right.
it's a good way to go. And the travel home is real easy.
Oh, yes. No commute.
No commute. We're doing good.
Well, thank you, Dr. McDougall, and thank you,
Thanks
everybody.
for all your questions. And the internet, the website gives you really everything you want. Just use the search engine and use the hot topics. And, if you can, join us for one of our live presentations.
All right.
Some amazing things going on.
They are awesome. Yes. So thank you.
All right. It was a pleasure, folks. See you next Thursday. Bye-bye.
All right. Okay. Bye-bye.